I'm 91 years old, and I am sitting in the smaller house. The bigger house I sold in March of 1999 is still standing, 6 miles from here. A family of 4 lives in it now. I drove past it last spring. There is a swing set in the yard where my husband and I used to grow tomatoes. The window where I used to read in the morning has new curtains. I have thought about that house every single day for 26 years. I want to tell you in plain English that selling that house was the worst decision of my life. Not my marriage, not my career, not anything I did with my children. The decision I made on a Sunday afternoon in February of 1999, sitting at my dining room table with my husband and a real estate brochure, has cost me more than any other decision I have ever made. And if you are honest with yourself, you have been considering this exact decision for the last 2 or 3 years. Your children have hinted. Your doctor has mentioned the stairs. Your friends have downsized. The magazines you read have entire sections on right-sizing after 60. Everyone you trust, every voice that loves you, has been gently telling you that the smaller house is the smart move. I am here to tell you, from 26 years on the other side of that decision, that almost everything they have told you is wrong. I am going to walk you through exactly what I lost when I left that house, what I gained, and why the math, which seemed so obvious in 1999, was actually catastrophic. Listen carefully. This is not what anyone wants you to hear. This is what I wish someone had told me. In February of 1999, my husband and I had been living in our family home for 31 years. 4 bedrooms, 2 stories, a full basement, a backyard with 3 apple trees and a small vegetable garden, a driveway long enough for 3 cars, a neighborhood we had moved into when our oldest was 4 years old. We were 64 and 66 years old. The children had all left. The basement was full of things we had not touched in a decade. The upstairs bedrooms had become guest rooms that were rarely used. The yard was more work than we had energy for. The taxes had quadrupled since we bought the house. Every conversation with our financial advisor included the phrase, "You have a lot of equity tied up in that property." The numbers were obvious. We sold the house in March for $312,000. We bought this smaller house, a 1-story ranch with 2 bedrooms and a small yard, for $148,000. We pocketed $164,000, which our advisor said would carry us through retirement with significant margin. Everyone we knew told us we had made a smart decision. Our children were relieved. Our doctor was supportive. Our friends were envious. The real estate agent said we were ahead of the curve. I want to tell you what I did not understand at 64, that I understand at 91. The first thing I lost was 31 years of muscle memory. I had been living in the bigger house since I was 33 years old. My body had learned over 3 decades where everything was. I knew without thinking how many steps it was from the kitchen to the bathroom. I knew the height of the back step. I knew which floorboard creaked. I knew where the light switches were in the dark. A house is not just a building. A house is a map your body has memorized over decades. The day you move into a new house, no matter how nice, your body has to relearn everything. And after 60, the body learns slowly, For the first 3 years in this smaller house, I tripped more times than I can count on a step I did not remember was there. I bumped into a corner I had not known was a corner. I reached for a light switch that was on the opposite wall from where my hand expected it. I felt in my own kitchen like a guest. The muscle memory of 31 years was gone. I had to build a new one. At 64, the new one took 5 years to settle in, and even now, at 91, this house has never felt the way that house felt. A woman after 60 should not, if she can possibly avoid it, surrender 30 years of muscle memory for a more efficient floor plan. The second thing I lost was the architecture of difficulty. This is the one that nobody warns you about, and it is the one that has cost me the most. The bigger house had stairs, 2 flights, from the basement to the first floor, and from the first floor to the bedrooms. I climbed those stairs every single day for 31 years. I did not exercise. I did not go to a gym. I did not do yoga. I climbed stairs 12 to 15 times a day without thinking about it. The smaller house has no stairs. The bedroom is on the same floor as the kitchen. The bathroom is 12 steps from the bedroom. The basement is sealed off because the previous owners had finished it as storage. For the first 6 months, I felt great, easier, less tired at the end of the day. I told everyone I felt 20 years younger. By year 3, I noticed my legs were weaker. By year 5, I had trouble standing up from a low chair without using my hands. By year 7, I had to install grab bars in the bathroom. By year 10, I could not climb the 3 steps into my own daughter's house without resting halfway up. The stairs in the old house had been keeping me alive, not metaphorically, literally. The work of climbing them every day for 31 years had built and maintained leg strength, hip strength, and balance that took my body less than a decade to lose once the stairs were gone. I am 91 years old. I now do specific exercises every day to maintain the strength that the old house gave me for free. The exercises are tedious. The exercises are not as good as the stairs were. The exercises did not need to exist if I had stayed in a house with stairs. A house that is easier is a house that is doing less of the work your body needs to do. The third thing I lost was the proof of who I had been. The old house had 31 years of evidence in it. A scratch on the kitchen door frame where my oldest had hit the wall with a hockey stick in 1974. A faded place on the carpet where my husband's reading chair had sat for 20 years. The smell of cooking that had soaked into the walls of the kitchen, layer by layer for 3 decades. The pencil marks on the laundry room door where we had measured the children's heights every birthday. I sold all of that for $164,000. The smaller house had nothing in it. It was clean. It was new to us. It was efficient. It was also, in a way I did not understand in 1999, anonymous. The walls did not know me. The floors did not remember anything. There was nothing in the house that could prove on a bad day that I had been someone for 31 years before I arrived. This sounds sentimental. I want you to understand that it is not. It is practical. When my husband died in 2008, in this smaller house, I had no walls to grieve in. The walls had never known him. The kitchen had never seen him cook. The bedroom had been ours for only 9 years. I grieved a man who had lived most of his life in a house that no longer belonged to me. If we had stayed in the bigger house, I would have grieved him in the rooms where he had been alive. I would have sat in the chair he had sat in. I would have looked out the window he had looked out of every morning for 30 years. A house that knows you is a house that can hold you when you are falling apart. A house that does not know you is a house that has to be lived in addition to whatever else you are going through. I have not, in the 17 years since my husband died, fully grieved him. I think I have not grieved him because I am not in the rooms where I would have done the grieving. The fourth thing I lost was my community. This is the one I should have seen coming and did not. The bigger house was in a neighborhood we had been part of for 31 years. The mailman knew my name. The pharmacist on the corner had filled my prescriptions for 2 decades. The librarian was the daughter of a woman I had been on the PTA with. The hairdresser had been doing my hair since 1979. The smaller house was 6 miles away. 6 miles is nothing. 6 miles is also, after 65, a different world. I did not transfer my pharmacy. I did not transfer my hairdresser. I did not, for the first 2 years, drive back to the old neighborhood to maintain those relationships, because I told myself I was settling in and would return to them eventually. By year 3, my old pharmacist had retired. By year 5, my old hairdresser had moved to Florida. By year 7, the librarian had been replaced by someone I did not know. By year 10, my old neighborhood had become a place I had once lived, not a place I belonged to anymore. In the new neighborhood, I never built what I had built before. I was 64 when I moved. The neighbors were younger. They had children in school. They had busy lives. They were polite but not curious. I made one friend on this street in 26 years. One. In the old neighborhood I had known by name. The people in 17 of the houses on my block. A woman after 60 who moves 6 miles away has not moved 6 miles. She has moved out of the only community she will ever have, into a community she will never fully enter. 5 things in 26 years. I lost 31 years of muscle memory. I lost the architecture of difficulty that was keeping my body strong. I lost the proof of who I had been, written into the walls of the rooms. I lost the community that I had built over 3 decades, and the financial gain that justified all of it has, over 26 years, been spent on medical bills and home modifications and exercise equipment that the bigger house would never have required. The $164,000 we pocketed in 1999 would be worth approximately $310,000 today, adjusted for inflation. The bigger house, if we had kept it, would be worth approximately $640,000. The financial math, which had seemed so obvious at the time, was wrong even in narrow financial terms. I lost money on the trade. I lost everything else on top of that. I am 91 years old. I am sitting in the smaller house. I have been here for 26 years. It has never felt like home. It has been my address. It has not been my life. If you are considering this decision, I am begging you to consider it more carefully than I did. Run the numbers, yes. Hear your doctor, yes. Listen to your children, yes. And then ask yourself one question that nobody told me to ask in 1999. Ask yourself, if you sell this house, what muscles will you stop using? What walls will you stop being known by? What pharmacist will you lose? What hairdresser? What neighbor? What kitchen window will you stop looking out of? That has been your morning view for 30 years. If you cannot answer those questions, do not sell. A nursing home does not begin with a fall. It begins with the move you made 20 years earlier into a house that was easier, smaller, more efficient, and that quietly disassembled the body and the life you had built for 30 years before. Stay as long as you possibly can. The bigger house is harder, yes. The harder house is the reason you will still be in it at 91. I'll see you in the next one.